Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Gracious Guest Podcast. And this is a pretty interesting and different sort of scenario than normally is the case. I'm your host, Mike Creevy, by the way, your humble host of the Gracious Guest Show. And I am currently on a beach, wandering around a beach somewhere in the vicinity of Ocean City, New Jersey. And I've never taken the microphone out here, my little H2N recorder I use to do this program most of the time. So I'm hoping that it is okay and doesn't get totally blown away or wrecked or whatever the case is. So, anyway, I thought this would be a good opportunity to share with all of you a little bit about why I love the sea. Really kind of, I was going to say the ocean, but you know, it's not just the ocean. It's sort of the sea more broadly, I think. And it's I don't know. It's just there's just something about getting to the shore and really kind of running into the waves or just standing there and staring at the waves for a long time that just gets to me in a really good way and brings me a lot of peace and focus, a lot of tranquility. And I wanted to share about that a little bit today. So first things first, though, I would not be, I would not be honest if I didn't want to immediately direct you to a much more interesting and more in-depth sort of perusal of this subject than I could probably ever come up with that has really meant a lot to me, and I think really kind of not only encapsulates my own experience, but, you know, goes so much further and sort of, you know, blew my mind when I first heard it. And that's namely a talk, I think it's like a 20-minute talk given by philosophy of religion professor Peter Kreeft called The Sea. And you can get that, like, he has podcasts, I think some of them you might have to pay for now, I'm not sure. But if you look around online, you should be able to find it, you know, maybe just an MP3 of it or certainly the podcast of it, where he reflects on the sort of philosophical and theological and everything else, mostly just the experience of the sea. Hopefully you can hear it in the background there. So that'll be my little backdrop today. So it's a really kind of nice day. It's a little hazy, but not too much. So you got some sunshine coming through, a little bit of cloud cover, but it's kind of thin cloud cover. So, you know, you can get the reflection off the water is beautiful, so you can see the sunshine off it, but it's not super hot yet, and it's still pretty early. It's 9:17 right now, and there's hardly anybody out here on the ocean, or on the shore, rather. Let me step up here, get some of this in the background. I'm standing now in the tracks of that big beachcomber thing, whatever it's called, or it might have been one of the garbage trucks. They were dumping out all of the garbage cans, and you could hear all the bottles and stuff. So I waited until that passed by to start this because I just wanted to have the peaceful backdrop here. So listen to that for a second. It's just something about it. There's something about it. And I was thinking, like I said, after hearing Dr. Kreeft's lecture where he talked about the sea, it really isn't a lecture. It's like a reflection, I should say, more than some kind of lecture per se. But it's very interesting and erudite for sure, because all of his stuff is. If you're not familiar with him, I should have spelled his name earlier. It's Peter Kreeft. It's pronounced Kreeft. It's sometimes you'll hear it pronounced Kreeft. That's how it's spelled. Kreeft. Again, out of Boston College, and he's written tons and tons of different stuff, but mostly his focus is, you know, philosophy. He's a philosopher, so his focus is philosophy, and largely, you know, sort of philosophy of religion. So he personally is coming from a Catholic background, so he focuses a lot on some of the philosophical dimensions of the Catholic faith, but also, you know, Christianity as a whole, and he's pretty well versed and well read in everything from, sort of philosophy undergirding Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism, and that's his focus, is just kind of religion and the philosophies behind them. So anyways, so that was just, again, a really good talk, and got me thinking about some of this. For me, though, every time I come here, whatever's going on in life, whatever stresses I'm facing, whatever difficulties at work or personal stuff, or just struggles and stress and frustration, it basically vanishes. Now, it's not that those things disappear entirely or that those responsibilities go away or anything like that, but I think my worry about them does. It's like the waves themselves, as they either literally wash over me, or even if I'm just standing near them and kind of, you see them come in and go out, and that repetition. It's never still. Even right, like today, there's not a lot of waves out there, but the surf itself, just coming in and then going back out, and just that pattern, that rhythm. There's something about it that just, I think, makes me think about life, and helping me to recognize the impermanence of those sorts of things that really stress me out. That no matter how bad something might get at work, no matter how stressful things might seem, or no matter how much in a rut sometimes, we feel, this too shall pass, everything comes and goes, and nothing in this life is gonna last forever, so that's something about it. I think, for one thing, there's that idea that every time I see it, no matter how many times I am at the ocean or the sea somewhere, it's never exactly the same twice. Each new wave is a little bit different than the last, and the next one will be a little bit more different than that one, and that's kind of an encouraging thought, I think, in and of itself. Another thing I notice whenever I'm at the seashore is, I guess when I said earlier, the focus thing, just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. I wrote a screenplay once, basically just on a trip to the shore, like that. I couldn't formulate my thoughts. I couldn't really. I don't want to say writer's block. It was almost like it was worse than that. It was just I couldn't get the inspiration I needed. And the moment I got to the shore, it just hit me, and I was like, oh, okay, and that's the thing. It's not a screenplay I've sold or anything like that, but I mean, just the ability to have the story kind of unfold in my mind, and to get it written out. I mean, that was such a very important thing for me personally to do, such an incredibly important achievement for me, and I just really felt a real sense of inspiration that being in that particular location helped, for some reason, me to focus. I think something that really affects me about every time I'm here is that when you look at the ocean like I'm doing right now, it's the biggest thing you've pretty much ever seen. I mean, the sky's big, of course, but you see big buildings, you see big lakes, you see big mountains. But the moment you look at the ocean, I mean, it's just the immensity. The immensity is so incredibly profound, and we can't really wrap our heads around it. And sure, we can look on maps and get an idea of how big it is. You can, become an expert, in oceanography and all that kind of stuff, and you can plumb the depths of the ocean. You can spend your life at sea. You can get used to it in a sense, but you really can't. Because it's always just so powerful and so amazing and so giant, so much bigger than us. And of course, as you stand here, like I'm going to step up here just to my ankles in it for a second, it is so peaceful and gentle and beautiful and calm, but at the same time how incredibly treacherous and dangerous it can be. That it's not something that we control. We can do a lot of bad stuff to the ocean. We can pollute it. We can exploit it. We can do all sorts of stuff. But, we're kidding ourselves if we think at the end of the day that we rule this. And it's just a really interesting and mysterious reality. And when you think about it, this is something that Professor Kraft talked about as well. It's cold salt water, you know? Like it's basically just H2O. I mean, if you want to kind of have a reductionist attitude about it, it's okay. It's just H2O with some salt in it, you know. But I think most of us can realize that it means so much more than that. There's a meaning to it. This is like something I come back to a lot with the whole Gracious Guest. The podcast and my blog posts and everything is this theme I always keep coming back to of wonder. That what is it about something so seemingly, I mean, it could be so uninteresting if you just kind of stare at it and just look at it at the surface instead of seeing that it's a sign, you know, it points to something beyond itself, really. And I think we all kind of know that on some level. You know, here I am, there's a little water, washing right over, right just about up to my shins, all right? And it's cold, it might be a little gross, some seaweed, that kind of stuff. But again, it's just such a powerful, interesting experience that I never get sick of. Everywhere I have ever gone, everything I've ever done, every site I've visited, every tourist site, every national park, every amusement park, every major city, every, remote, cool sort of destination. It doesn't matter where it is. Every place I've ever gone, I've gotten sick of, except the ocean. I mean, and it's not even like it's like I'm a little more okay with it. I think at this point it's safe to say I apparently can't get sick of this. I could just spend all day out here wandering around in the waves. I mean, I love visiting national parks. My family and I traveled a lot when I was a kid, and I've kept that travel up. I've been all over the world with the Army and everything, and then, my wife and I went to Italy. That's probably the next closest thing that I didn't get sick of. But even there, you go around, you visit a lot of stuff. Like, there's always more stuff you can go see, but, it's just not quite the same. And I think it's because there's just a real raw nature, clearly, to the ocean, to the sea. It's not something we made. I think that's why, like, my wife, for example, sometimes can even have more fun, like, at a lake than at the ocean. I can't. I really can't. I know, and I'm not insulting lakes. If you're a lake person, that's great. But for me, a lake just doesn't quite do it, as beautiful as it is. And especially if it's like a man-made lake. A lot of people, that doesn't matter. Like, well, does that matter? No big deal. It just doesn't do the same thing that the ocean does for me. So I think there's a couple things just to kind of chew on there a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you love the sea, if you're a fellow sea lover, shoot me an email or send me a message through the website over at thegraciousguest.org, thegraciousguest.org, and shoot me, just an email through there. You can check me out on Twitter, and I also have old blog posts up there from the old Google blog I used to do, and now everything has migrated over to the new site, as I mentioned in the last episode. So I do have the Gmail address. I don't have it up on the website just because the contact form is just easier, and it pulls everything there for me. But you can always do that too if you want to shoot me an email over at thegraciousguest@gmail.com. Again, thegraciousguest@gmail.com. thegraciousguest.org is the website. I am your humble host, Mike Creevy. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, don't forget to wonder. Take care.